It's the year of the Caladium, and in honor of that, we're going to do a couple of segments about Caladiums, but obviously I don't have any foliage plants right up here with me right now, and that's because we're going to show you how to kind of get these started in your garden. So what I do have are a few Caladium bulbs, and Caladium bulbs look kind of gnarly. They're very bumpy, and so I want to talk to you today about how to de-eye your Caladiums and why you may or may not want to do this. So first thing is you got to kind of know what the top and the bottom of the Caladium is. So it's sort of like a potato that you would maybe have eyes on, and unlike a potato that has eyes all over it, this is going to have eyes on the top side and not so much on the bottom side. So what we're looking at is this is the top side here, and you can kind of see up close how it's sort of got these like pinched areas, and those are the eyes. So when I say eyes, this is all stem tissue, and this is where our foliage stems are going to actually sprout from. Now, Caladiums are a tropical foliage plant, often used in the shade, but can be pushed into the sun a little bit, and we'll talk more about that later on in the season. But the thing about them is they are tropical, and so they don't like to sit in our wet spring soils for very long. So we're not putting these out in the garden just yet, because right now in our forecast with spring rains, we could be getting anywhere from 6 to 10 inches in the next couple of weeks. So we don't want them sitting in that moisture trying to grow just yet. So what we're going to do is start them in some containers ahead of time. A lot of times you can buy them either as bulbs or already pre-grown in containers as well. But buying bulbs kind of allows you a little more options on which type you're getting, which color you're getting, and also whether you want them to be de-eyed or not. So again, going back to de-eying and how you do that and why you might want to do that. So right now, if we didn't do anything to this, what's going to happen is this primary eye is going to sprout, and it's going to sprout one leaf. And then we're going to have some of these other eyes that will also then sprout leaves. But by removing this, it's kind of like trimming back your apical dominance on your main stem. You're going to force those other side buds to sprout. And so while we can't always see these side buds, by removing this center eye, we're going to have these other latent buds then push out. And so that's going to allow us to have ultimately more foliage on our plant. Now, anytime you do this, it's causing more energy to go into more foliage, which means that foliage might not be quite as tall as just that primary leaf. So that could be a good or bad thing depending on your application. A lot of times in landscape situations, they want taller foliage to kind of stand up in that landscape a little bit more. So in some of those situations and scenarios, you might not find that de-eying is necessary. But if you're wanting a container, a lot of times you want that container really full of foliage. And so height isn't necessarily as important because you don't want it to topple over. So you just want more foliage. So that's a very appropriate application for de-eying. So let me show you how to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to take our knife here, and we're just going to kind of pivot our knife around that eye, excuse me, and kind of take it out. Some people call it scarring the eyes if you're a little more graphic, but we're just going to de-eye it. So we're going to remove that. Now we do know these are also eyes here, so we're going to go ahead and kind of remove that. You don't want to take too much of that tissue. You just want to simply cut that out. And in fact, you can kind of see that eye. It has a little bit more of a pink tint to it where it would be growing. So we're going to remove that. And then we're going to take that one out also. And then the side one here. And then we've got one more here that I can see. We're going to remove that as well. And in fact, we have one more over here. You can see it's already sort of that point coming up right there. We're going to cut that out as well. So we're just trying to remove not too much of the actual tissue, because all of this is valuable energy. It's carbohydrate. It's kind of the battery pack that's going to force those leaves to come up. So we don't want to take and remove too much of that. Also, anytime you cut into the plant, you're creating an exposure to different pathogens. So minimal amount of opening as much as possible. But basically, we've done that to the primary ones, and what we don't see, and I can kind of see there's probably an eye there and there, that's going to force some of these. So try to remove as many as you can, but go ahead and leave those secondaries, and that's going to force those to come up. Now, ideally, what we're going to do is we're going to set these down for about 10 to 12 hours and sort of just let them heal over. You can see there's a little bit of moisture on them. So kind of like you would do a potato, if you had cut your potatoes, let them kind of heal over and dry out just a bit before you put them in the soil. But for TV purposes right now, what we're going to do is go ahead and show you how you would pot these up. So when you put them in the ground, of course, we want to put a plant right side up as much as possible, but plants are smart, they kind of know. So if you accidentally end up putting it in the wrong way, it's going to send those shoots up the right way. But we're going to put that in there and then cover it with just about 2 inches of potting soil over that. Again, we're doing this in containers, so we want to make sure that we're using potting soil and not topsoil so we have good drainage. Now we're going to moisten this pretty well. And again, plants, caladiums are tropical and they like high humidity environments, but not saturated. We don't want these to rot or anything like that. So one thing that we're going to do when we moisten this is then cover it with some saran wrap. So this is going to allow that humidity to stay high. I'm just going to wrap this around here and put a rubber band over it to kind of keep it tight. And this is going to, when I put moisture in here, really allow it to heat up and kind of get that germination effect happening that will soon cause that bulb to start sprouting. And of course, as soon as we start seeing those shoots start to emerge, we want to make sure to remove this saran wrap. So this is a great way to just kind of place it outside somewhere so it allows for it to get warm. You wouldn't want to put this in the greenhouse because it would kind of create too much of a greenhouse effect on these bulbs and heat them up too much. Now, another option you can do if you're doing a lot of these, of course, there's shipping wrap, so you can get a larger amount of saran wrap than what you might have for that situation. Or another option that you can do as well is kind of create a system where you, if you have these disposable containers, just put a lot of your pots in here like this, and then this would be something that you could cover over to create that greenhouse effect. Or if you need to, in really hot days, the other day we were up to 90 degrees, so it's gonna be even hotter in here, kind of vent it a little bit so that they aren't cooking too much. But keep a close eye, and a few weeks we'll start seeing those sprouts come up, and we'll be able to really see the difference in the vegetation from de-eying caladiums and not de-eying them.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.